Hello and welcome to Video Game Hangover. I'm Randy Dickinson and I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Hey, it's me, DJ Ross. I'm in Mountain View, California.
Each week on Video Game Hangover, we talk about the games that have been keeping us up at night. On this week's show, that list includes, the Tartarus Key and Shin-chan, me and the professor on summer vacation.
Oh, man. Shin-chan and the Tartarus Key, classic Japanese coming-of-age story.
Mm-hmm.
Shin-chan goes to hell.
We should coordinate these better, possibly.
Do you think people are tuning in? They're like, oh, finally Shin-chan on the show, but I don't know about all this Tartarus stuff.
So trapped in a mansion, solving puzzles, fighting for your life.
Wall-to-wall weird anime characters.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I was thinking sort of summer vacation. I had a theme I was going for here. I'm not sure where the Tartarus Key came in, but...
Oh, I see. No, I was just playing this because I had it. It's not especially summery.
That's a good reason.
Yeah.
Speaking of summer, I would like to issue a warning here at the top of the show that we are recording this on the evening of July 3rd. And if you hear explosions or fire trucks...
Is that going to be happening? Yeah.
My neighbors have already begun the revelry.
I didn't even think about that.
It's a little wild here in downtown Harrisburg today.
Okay, well, fingers crossed we make it out of this show intact with
yes,
few third-degree burns as possible. Should be fine.
Yeah, it usually is. We've done this for quite a while, and I've lived here for quite a while, and we usually get through them okay. But
yeah. Oh, I was going to say, we do our traditional July 3rd recording of the show. Fireworks be damned.
Wait for the grand finale. You guys are going to love it.
It's just, I can't hear anything they're saying. It's just all explosion noises.
Just right, exactly. Yeah, lots of big band music. Lots of brass instruments. Yeah, feeling super patriotic.
John Philip Sousa. Yeah, maybe we could do a special outro song this week. Who knows?
There you go. And for those of you in the rest of the world, not here in the United States, have fun at work tomorrow.
Yeah, just very confused.
Yeah.
Have fun at work 2 days ago.
Right, correct, yes. Greetings from the future.
Yeah. Now I feel like I should be playing something more summery. I typically don't really coordinate my gaming, schedule.
With the season?
Menu, seasonally, yeah. I'll do, Halloween stuff during Halloween, of course.
That's the only one, really, yeah.
But, is there anything else? Not really.
Yeah. We don't play a lot of Thanksgiving games or Christmas games.
No, we've been over that. We're trying to find some Thanksgiving games to play.
Yeah. There's a lot of games I'm thankful for, but that's not quite the same thing.
Sure. There's no game where you dress up as a turkey and I don't know what the turkey would do.
He'd be an axe murderer, of course. He would lock, Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny in a mansion and they'd have to solve puzzles or die.
Wait, the turkey's behind it? The turkey is not also locked in the mansion?
No, the turkey is the one, on the video monitors, giving cryptic clues.
Oh, what does the turkey have against the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus?
Well, they're trying to steal the thunder from his holiday.
Oh, the Easter Bunny?
Sure.
That's
people love the Easter Bunny, don't they?
I don't know if I'm down with the Easter Bunny.
No. If there was one holiday icon who was going to trap all the other holiday icons in a mansion and make them solve puzzles or die, which holiday icon would it be, DJ?
Probably I feel like the obvious answer would be a Halloween one, but
yeah,
I feel like Halloween, a lot of the time, those characters are more about pranks. So it turns out it's good-natured. It's not about actually murdering people.
Sure.
So who is the most malicious holiday mascot? I don't know. I don't feel great about the Easter Bunny. I'll just say it again. I feel like whenever the Easter Bunny shows up in something, it's very creepy looking. There's a terrible looking bunny from Animal Crossing. There is that the creepy bunny from Silent Hill 3.
Frank the Rabbit from Donnie Darko. Have you ever seen that? Are you familiar with that?
That's not really. I mean, that is a rabbit.
Right. It's not really an Easter bunny, but it's creepy.
Right.
It's bunny-like.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't feel great about the Easter bunny.
I vote for Grandparents' Day.
What is that's not a real thing.
No, it's not a real holiday.
But you're saying your grandparents are the most malicious holiday mascot?
You've never met my grandparents. You don't know.
Okay. Man. Just
My grandma
throwing
can
your
be quite
grandparents
vindictive.
under the bus.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you're probably right. Easter Bunny. Halloween seems like the obvious answer. Maybe the Easter Bunny.
Maybe a leprechaun.
Oh.
Leprechaun kind of spooky.
Yeah. Yeah. I think horror movies have already mined that gold, though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The holiday that revolves around a creepy doll. Is that not a real holiday? No?
I don't know. Is there a creepy doll holiday?
I don't know. Somebody will need to invent one. But no, I'll just stick with the Easter Bunny. Easter Bunny is creepy. He's probably behind the whole thing.
It's a good choice. I'll go with you on that.
All right.
So I don't know how to dig ourselves out of this hole now.
I wish I had a summer game to play, is what I was getting at.
Yeah. I don't know. It's quite accidental, actually, that I ended up playing Shinchan. I wanted to play this game for a while. It's been out for the Switch for a bit. I think it came out in Japan in 2021, so 2 years ago now. I don't know why I sort of never got around to it, but there was not a physical release, and I still like buying cartridges for video games every now and then, and Limited Run was going to do a limited run of one, and I'm like, oh, sure, that's the way to do it. Let's do that. Mm-hmm. And it just landed in my mailbox last Thursday, and I was like, perfect timing. Summer vacation is upon us, and I have this video game about a kid on summer vacation.
Oh, nice. Real escapism.
Sure.
You should save this for winter or something. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. I kind of forgot that I had pre-ordered it. So if it had showed up in December, I probably could have spun that into a theme as well. It's like, oh no, it's cold outside. Now I'm going to play this summery game.
Got it. Yeah. You should be playing like Crayon Shinchan goes on a ski trip or something.
Right. There are apparently quite a few of these out in Japan. And this is the only one to have made its way to the US. So I'm not sure if those others will get here now. If this sold enough copies to warrant just publishing all of those Shinchan games.
Well, they're not all Shinchan, right? It's like the Summer Vacation series has been around for quite a while at this point.
Oh, is that the hook? I thought it was a bunch of Shinchan games.
Oh, no,
no. It's a Summer Vacation thing.
Yeah, there's like, it's a long-running series that is about just some kid. I don't know if it's like the same kid in every installment, but he's just, as you describe it, he's just on summer vacation with his parents or something, and you just do kind of mundane summer vacation stuff, is my understanding of it.
Gotcha.
And then this one
clearly
just
have
has
more information
Shinchan
than I do. So,
well, I mean, these have always sounded very interesting to me because they're kind of like, not really traditional video games. Like they're not platformers or very action heavy or anything.
Right, like
they're
a
just
slice
sort of like
life kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way of putting it. The same director, I think, or the creator of these made that Attack of the Friday Monsters game.
Oh, okay. I knew that, but I didn't realize there was some kind of thematic connection between them.
Yeah, well, and that's the closest we've gotten before this Shinchan thing anyway, to getting one of those over here. And I feel like
that's a great game.
I
really
talked
about that earlier this year, yeah.
I kind of got a good sense of like, okay, I can imagine what a larger version of this experience would be like, and I think that would be cool. So I hope that eventually they do more of these. I was excited when this Shinchan thing got announced, although I was kind of like, well, I don't know anything about Crayon Shinchan really, so is that gonna be weird if I play this as my first sort of entry into this series? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either because I don't know anything about Shinchan, and now I'm playing this video game. So it does not seem to be a disadvantage, but we'll dig a little deeper when we talk about it later.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll talk about it later.
Or we can talk about it now. Are we talking about it now?
I don't know. It's like, what are we going to talk about now then?
Was there a Nintendo Direct last week?
Was
anything exciting happening in Final Fantasy Land?
I'm still playing it. It's, man, I feel like I can feel the spoilers closing in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm like, I've been very fortunate up to this point. I've not had anything spoiled for me.
It is a spoilery game. That's, well, I guess, yeah.
There's like going to be something. There's going to be something that happens. Yeah, there's definitely been some things up to this point where I was like, oh, no, I'm glad I didn't hear about that beforehand. So, there's always just surprises and stuff.
Sure.
But, it's been out for a couple weeks. The other day I was like, I like the music that plays in this area. I'll just go to YouTube and pull up a video of it. And I was just like, oh no, we're in the danger zone now. Because I'm just scrolling through these things and squinting my eyes, trying not to read the video titles on all the recommended videos. I'm like, oh, this is even going to be worth it? Am I just going to ruin the entire game for myself so I can listen to this song? So I actually ended up not finding that song. So it's just stuff like that. I'm getting very paranoid. Plus, I spend a lot of the day just logged into a game where everybody is a Final Fantasy fan and just chatting openly about it. So I'm just like, this seems like a bad idea. At some point, somebody's just going to let something drop and I'll be like, oh, well, now I know that happens. So a little paranoid. I don't know if it's justified or not, but continuing to make my way through that thing.
Yeah. Well, I guess that it was not a thing that sort of necessarily screamed, here there be spoilers to me, but I mentioned last week that the demo ended on a cliffhanger, and it definitely sort of established a bit of a mystery there, so there's certainly got to be some stuff that needs to be sussed out, some surprises along the way.
Yeah, let me tell you, I know a lot more about that now than I knew at the end of the demo.
Did you? Well, because you played the game and you learned what happened, right?
Yes, through the course of playing the game.
For you. Okay. All right.
Not
somebody on Twitter.
No. Surprisingly, well, I mean, not a lot of discussion in general on Twitter these days, but I've not seen a lot of Final Fantasy 16 discussion. I'm not sure why that is.
Well, good. I was terrified that we would have lots of spoilery stuff from Tears of the Kingdom on our Discord. So much so that I sort of insisted we have a little warning at the top and a reminder on how people use spoiler tags. And it really has not been a problem. I think most of the things that people are confused by or talking about or looking for guidance on are not necessarily story-related beats. Those kind of play themselves. It's more or less how do I beat this enemy? How do I, get to the top of this mountain, et cetera, et cetera. And it's not really things like, who murdered this person?
Right. Yeah, I was I don't know how much of Zelda is spoilable. I mean, I guess a lot of it is really, but not typical story stuff. Sure. The stuff that I worry about, or the stuff that is really exciting for me to discover in Tears of the Kingdom, is just all the weird stuff you can do. And it's hard to even classify what that includes. But
yes.
the things that some dungeons make you do, or shrines or whatever they call them. And there's some story stuff in there too, for sure. But it's not quite the same sense that you would spoil a Final Fantasy story. Yeah.
No, a lot of my most recent inquiries in our Discord or on Twitter or on GameFAQs or wherever else the internet takes me for Tears of the Kingdom have mostly been how do I build a good hover bike?
Mm-hmm. Yes, typical Zelda question that somebody would have.
Because walking sucks. What was the other thing? Oh, there's a Flux Construct level 3. These giant
those big
robots,
big
essentially.
Boss things. Yeah.
Yeah, made out of blocks. And I'm how do I beat this frickin' thing? Because I'm tired of dying. And I know I need to kill him. So, those have been my sort of greatest inquiries. And it's not necessarily plot-related stuff, but please help me get past this stupid enemy.
The most... maybe the only thing I had spoiled about Breath of the Wild was the fact that you could unlock the classic Link outfits in it.
Oh, really?
And I was upset about it. It's oh, I didn't know that was in here. Oh, no, I do. Oh, man. I don't even think I ended up getting those, but I was just oh, that would have been fun.
There are so many costumes in Tears of the Kingdom. Just dozens of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't afford any of them, so that's another barrier for me enjoying that. But
yeah, I haven't been buying any of them, but I keep finding bits and pieces of them. So I have a really kind of wonky, mismatched wardrobe, where I've got the pick a thing. I've got a suit of armor, and I've got the Majora's Mask and boots that let me climb faster, so I don't slide down in the rain when I'm trying to climb. So it's just what are you wearing, Link?
Are there climbing boots that do that? I am so upset that they didn't change that from Breath of the Wild. Where
there's
you
a
just
whole climbing
slide
outfit.
Up everything. I have part of it. I don't have anything that actually helps me climb stuff. I can make the little potions that help you climb on wet surfaces, and they don't work. You still slide on the surfaces. So thanks for including that, Nintendo. That was great.
You're just wasting resources. I have not made a single potion at all.
Really?
Not one. I find them fairly useless.
Yeah, the potions are good.
Yeah, I don't find I need them very often.
Well, there's like the temperature resistance potions are pretty good until you get the appropriate gear.
Yeah.
I find like the stamina recovery stuff is super helpful.
I have foods that sort of have those impacts, those effects, and generally I'm always like down to my last heart. So I'm like, well, I can eat these arancini rice balls that give me like 10 hearts and allow me to, survive in the cold.
Yeah. I tend to either go like all health when I'm cooking something, or it's like some potion with a special effect. It's like either or. Yeah. Because then I'll end up needing one thing or the other. And it's like, the only thing I have that restores my health also gives me like a huge stamina boost, which I don't need. So I feel like I'm wasting half of the effect.
Sure. Yes, I have that dilemma periodically.
But yeah, I need more outfits in general. I need to go back to that game, actually. It's been a little bit. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago when it was closer to release that I was really hoping to get to through a second one of the like large objectives. I don't know if we're still being spoiler free about that.
I don't know. Yeah.
So I've still only done the one.
Oh.
But I was on the path to the second one, and I thought I was like, okay, I can bang this out in another hour. And it's just the path to unlocking it is it just seems like it's so much more elaborate.
Oh, yeah.
This time, which is delightful, because I'm like, I don't have to just go there and like flip a switch and the thing opens. I have to do this whole weird quest chain, which I'm not even sure how what is the correct way to pursue it. That's so interesting. But on the other hand, I need to do this in like the next hour so I can talk about it on the show this week. So just continues to be a very frustrating game.
It's definitely not a 1 hour undertaking. Yeah.
Yeah.
It has been my experience that the path to the thing, the big objective, is much more difficult and time consuming than the actual objective.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was something when I actually got around to talking about it, I was absolutely going to bring that up, because I was just like, how long is this thing? Is this the thing? There's another thing at the end of this? I feel like I've been doing this for just an hour.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was super cool, but I couldn't believe that it was that drawn out.
This is not even my final form, DJ.
Yeah, it just keeps going. Anyway, it's like stuff like that where I'm just not expecting stuff in that game to happen the way it does, which is fun. Well, so if somebody just came to me and said like, oh, you have to do this thing before you go do this other thing, I'd be like, oh, well, now I'll be expecting that, and that's not very fun.
But you weren't expecting this, that thing will take you 3 hours.
Yes. Well, I was just like, well, this sounds great. It's almost, this is not exactly what you end up doing, but it's almost like, a little mystery you have to solve. You have to go talk to all these people. And I thought, oh, that's so different than anything else I've had to do in this game up to this point. It's going to take a while, though. So, and then anything you want to do in Tears of the Kingdom, it just ends up taking 10 times longer than it naturally should. So,
oh, sure.
There will be there's also that to look forward to.
Yes, and some guy trying to build a sign who needs your assistance.
Yeah. Meanwhile, in Final Fantasy, it's just like, okay, here's the place on the map. Go teleport there instantly and talk to this guy, and then we'll put you into the next like story critical sequence. So it's kind of refreshing to just go to something that is that linear. If I need a completely undirected experience, I know Tears of the Kingdom is waiting for me.
Yes. Yeah, that was when I mentioned that on the show last week after having played the demo, I was a little surprised there's not like an overworld. Like you just go here, click on an icon, and like the game loads you into that place. I've not played Final Fantasy games before, so I'm not sure if that's a radical idea or not. But like the very next day in our Discord, somebody was also playing the whole game and was sort of like, oh, the travel's a bit of a bummer because you just click on icons on the map. And I'm like, right, I agree.
Okay. Let me tell you. Okay. As a longtime Final Fantasy fan, the Final Fantasy community as a whole, where we all had to make our peace with no more overworld maps when Final Fantasy X came out, and they decided they weren't going to do that anymore. Oh. So, we've been dealing with it for like 20 years at this point. So it's not a new thing in this one.
Okay. It's new to me, so it seemed surprising.
Yeah. I can see. No, it was very controversial when they announced that. Oh, instead of an overworld, we're just going to have a little menu. People were like, "What? Overworld?
The hell you are!"
Final Fantasy means overworld maps. So that was kind of like a key point when a lot of things about the series started to change, and people started questioning, like, "Oh, what does it really mean to like? What boxes do you need to tick to be a Final Fantasy game?" I was not expecting overworld maps to be one of them, but people were very upset about it.
But now you've just sort of resigned yourself to that being
the
reality of Final
it's
Fantasy.
fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. I mean, I like an overworld, but I also like just being able to go places instantly. Like everybody loves a fast travel system. You're not walking to every single destination in Tears of the Kingdom, I assume.
No, I'm trying to build that hover bike. That's
you're hover biking.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm flying my way there, like on my Green Goblin inspired little twin jet thing. Yeah. No, I was thinking about this, internalizing this, that the overworld stuff in Dragon Quest games, which is probably the sort of closest parallel I have from my gaming history, which is really not even a close parallel. The overworld tends to be the most tedious part of that game. The walking and walking and walking to get to a place, and the random encounters, and little scrub monsters that want to occupy a ton of your time, and it just feels very samey after a while. So I'm like, maybe Dragon Quest would be better if I could just zip around the map. If I didn't have to walk.
I see. Now you're coming around on it.
Yeah. So maybe I'm team menu and not team map.
It's like that in Persona 3. They got the little, like, it's a subway. You get onto the Tokyo Metro or whatever. And then they even further streamlined it in the portable one, which I think is the basis for the most recent release. You just click on menus for everything. So it seems to be the direction that things are headed in.
True. Yeah. Because that's not the case in Persona 5. There's a lot of walking around the city in that one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you do get on the subway periodically, and it does zip you around to different corners of the city. But there's still a lot of, like, you have to walk through the mall to get to the subway station, and 15 people want to talk to you. Not that many, like 5 people.
Not that many. I'm gonna say, like, I always start out, and just speaking of other video games and their overworld maps, or lack of overworld maps, I really like the experience of just walking through the streets in any, like, Yakuza game. Because the environments of that are extremely well done.
Yeah.
And it's fun just revisiting them every single time. But there's always a point in each of those games where I just start using taxis for everything. It's like, I need to go to the entire, like, opposite side of the city again. I'm just going to get a cab somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's fun up to a point, and then you really appreciate that fast travel option.
Yeah. Well, in Yakuza 7, Like a Dragon, he has a pretty speedy run too, so I find that, like, if I could just, like, jam the sprint button and run as fast as I can to the next objective, maybe I'll save the money on the taxi. But no, there's always some guy around a corner who wants to beat you up, and it's 10 minutes of fighting. And
exactly. That was, like, the main deterrent in Yakuza 7. Just like, how many fights am I going to get into along the way? I mean, I guess that's like it with any overworld map, but yeah, it's a lot of fights, not just the travel time.
Yeah. And I'm on a schedule here. I got places to be.
Yeah. Overworlds are fun up to a certain point. When it's not really about the exploration anymore, and it's just kind of a trudge to go back to where you've been previously. It's like, oh man, I really wish I had that teleport spell.
Yeah. The back to sort of Breath of the Wild briefly. Not Breath of the Wild, sorry. Tears of the Kingdom. You get little travel medallions that you can put down in random places. If you're going to go back there. And allows you to sort of create, like, a bespoke kind of fast travel spot, which I kind of dig. Apparently this existed in Breath of the Wild, and I never found it or had access to it. But
did it? I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, I learned that recently. But you get it. I guess there's a way to get it relatively early in Tears of the Kingdom, and it does make life a little bit easier.
Interesting. I don't know how much I would use that. And I feel like the fast travel places are they're, like, generally close enough to wherever I want to go that I'll just go to the nearest one.
Because it's really just your temples and shrines and stuff like that. And I think, like, the main, like, landmarks on the map are travel points and the new Zelda games. Yeah.
Yeah, usually there's like a tall cliff you can jump off of and then just sort of glide down to wherever you're supposed to go.
Right.
That's always fun.
If you have enough stamina potions, yeah.
Yeah, so you gotta have those stamina potions.
There you go, yeah. Yeah, I've used it to get back to important resources, the zonite mining and stuff like that, where you have to get all the
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, or the little... There's a guy who runs a forge that will expand your battery packs if you have enough resources. So I put one near him, and I can zip back to him and upgrade my battery when I need to.
It's weird that they didn't just put one near him to begin with.
Yeah. Well, he's near a city, so that helps. But, no, I want to go to his front door.
Oh, I see. Yes, save me the extra, 30 seconds of having to walk across the town.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. I get it.
Yep. Lazy.
Yeah.
So how is the overworld map in the Tartarus Key?
There's no overworld map. It's an outrage. It's
outrageous. I want my money back.
The lack of an overworld map. No, it's not an RPG. Are we talking about the Tartarus Key? All right, let's do it.
Sure.
I played this game that came out recently. It is, how do they even describe it? I'll start off with just the premise, where you play as Alex, who is a college student, and you can tell because she's wearing a hoodie, which is the universal video game symbol for being a college student.
Wait. I'm wearing a hoodie. Am I a college student?
Well, are you in a video game?
I'm not. No, I'm in my living room in real world.
Okay, so this only applies to video game characters.
Damn it.
But anyway, so you Alex wakes up in a mysterious room in a mysterious mansion. She doesn't know what she's doing there. It's not where she went to sleep or whatever was happening before. And it's like this creepy room. There's a security camera kind of watching her, and the only thing, or the first thing that sort of pops out and grabs her attention is this walkie-talkie. And through the walkie-talkie, she can communicate with some unknown person who may or may not be in a similar predicament. And at that point, you just start looking for clues to, first of all, make your way out of this room, and then unlock further rooms in the mansion to hopefully, eventually escape the mansion, because you don't want to be there. You don't want to be in this weird, spooky murder mansion.
Sure.
And at that point, it turns more or less into, it's not really survival horror. It's kind of like a single-player version of those We Were Here games. Those co-op games we play every year.
Yeah.
Because it's very, puzzle-focused. It's like an escape room, essentially. Except occasionally you talk to this other person, or you run into other people who are similarly trapped in the mansion, and you can chat with them for a bit. But a lot of it is just going from room to room and solving escape room style puzzles, or as somewhat survival horror style puzzles, where it's okay, does it really make sense that there would be a puzzle like this, or there would be machines in this room that correspond to astrological signs, and that's how you unlock the door? But that's just how it works in this mansion. So solve it, and it'll be great.
How does it how are you delineating it between what it is and being survival horror?
Well, so what caught my eye about this is that it looks very much like a PlayStation 1 era survival horror game. It's like the level of graphics were very much designed to invoke those games. So it looks very much like Silent Hill 1 or something like that, where
interesting.
Very simple character models, just huge blocky textures. They actually take it a couple steps further and try and replicate some of the weird graphical oddities of PlayStation 1. So there's a little sort of polygon jitter. Everything just looks a little bit like, oh man, yeah, it's running on a PlayStation, which isn't the greatest at, it's not peak 3D technology.
Sure.
But I think it's really fun. It's a really good aesthetic. I love it when games, I love that games are at the point where, we went through the whole 8-bit and 16-bit pixel art renaissance with let's make a pixel art retro game. And now people are just doing stuff that looks like primitive PlayStation 1 3D. So to that end, it looks amazing. It just looks like this weird PlayStation 1 game that's been unearthed. And from that, I sort of assumed that it would be a survival horror style experience, but they're actually very clear on the game page, the game description on Steam, that they're trying to make it sort of like more atmospheric with more focus on the puzzles and the storyline, and it's not about like resource management and definitely not about combat or kind of like spooky stuff that happens in a survival horror game.
Oh.
So when I read that, I was like, okay, so you had me with the visuals, but now I'm completely sold. Because, I don't know, I really like the atmosphere in those old games, but I don't need to deal with the combat. I definitely don't need to be chased by something while I'm trying to just, I don't know, solve a mystery or like put the final pieces in place for some puzzle.
Yeah.
Cool. That's fine. There's a time and a place for those things. But
sure.
I'm glad that they're producing games that don't have those things.
And if you're the kind of player that maybe is sort of sensitive to things being kind of gory, creepy, scary, monsters jumping out at you, jump scares and things like that, it seems like maybe the Tartarus Key is kind of addressing that.
Yes. What a huge relief. Because that's true. That's me most of the time. I want to say, so I'll just go on and say, it's really not scary at all. So if you're hoping for like an incredibly tense experience, I didn't find it to be especially tense. Maybe if I played it with all the lights off, because it's like a spooky atmosphere for sure.
Sure.
And there are some like weird otherworldly elements that they can't initially explain. But it's not the point where like I had trouble playing Silent Hill during the day at some points with like all the windows open and the lights on, just because that was how heavy the atmosphere was in that game. But no, for the most part, it was totally fine. It was kind of a refreshing experience to be able to explore this creepy, like PlayStation 1 looking mansion and not have to worry about like the next weird monster encounter or about something jumping out of a closet. There were some very, very like minor jump scares, which I think going back to the store description, they did not promise there would be no jump scares. But it's not like other games that I played, which seem like they're, going out of their way to have a spooky monster jump out at you all the time.
Yeah.
One of them, minor spoiler, there's just a puzzle with a jack-in-the-box. And when you solve it, the jack-in-the-box opens or like pops out. So, if that's spooky to you, then, I don't know what you were expecting to happen, but that's what happens.
Oh, that's nothing worse than a jack-in-the-box.
Yeah. It's not my favorite thing.
Yeah.
But, I was like kind of upset when it happened because at that point I was like, you said there'd be no jump scares in this game. And then I was like, well, I guess I'm just an idiot for expecting there not to be a clown or whatever in the Jack-in-the-Box.
Hold on, I have to send an angry tweet.
Yeah. But, for the most part, it's like a game with the spooky atmosphere for people who maybe don't like playing what is traditionally sort of like scary games
Nice.
with stuff jumping out of closets.
That's fun. That does get I like scary games. I like scary movies and stuff like that. But it gets old. It gets tiring. It gets exhausting at some point. So to hear that this is a little bit more of a escape room, solve a puzzle, move on to the next one kind of thing, that sounds appealing to me.
Yeah.
Which is not unlike We Were Here, because those games definitely have kind of a creepy vibe to them, but they're not really
they were a little creepy now that you mention it.
Yeah,
but I definitely wasn't scared in any of those. I don't think. Maybe because I was on voice chat the entire time, that kind of takes the scare away from it.
Sure. You and I yelling at each other as you die slowly.
Yeah. Yes. That
as you freeze to death, and I frantically try to solve the puzzle that saves you.
Yeah. Not a lot of time pressure elements in this game either. In fact, maybe none now that I think about it.
Oh, that's fun too. I'm a fan of that. I hate a ticking clock in a video game.
It kind of creates the illusion that you might have to work quickly on something, but I get the feeling that there wasn't actually a timer counting down, which is good because I'm just like, okay, I'm playing a puzzle game. Just let me solve the puzzle. It's not a thing about how quickly I can solve it. I just want to think through it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to be like, oh, you suffocated to death or whatever. Now go restart and do the puzzle from scratch. It's very frustrating. And for the most part, the puzzles are all very good. They're like typical sort of what you would expect out of an escape room, I suppose. or like a survival horror game. I already mentioned that several times. There's nothing approaching sort of the like most convoluted like Silent Hill puzzles, thankfully. In fact, I made it through the entire thing without having to go look up like hints online, which I was very, very satisfied with.
Oh, cool.
There were definitely situations where I thought, okay, well, this is going to be the one. This is the one that gets me going to Game Facts to look this up or whatever. But no, I just started like poking at it a little bit, and eventually I just figured it out, which was great.
Cool. That sounds perfect, and not so easy that you're just kind of strolling.
Yeah. Some of them, the quality sort of goes up and down with a few of them. Like some of the puzzles are a little more straightforward than I was expecting. I thought, oh, this one's going to be extra tricky. That it just turns out it's like an incredibly obvious solution. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just in a case of me maybe overthinking what was about to happen. But yeah, overall, very cool atmosphere, pretty good puzzle design. The story is sort of like, that's all right. There's a kind of a fun mystery at the center of it. If I have one objection to anything in the Tartarus Key, it's that maybe the main character was just a little too flippant the entire time. There are definitely points, or just throughout the entire thing, it seems like she's just so over the fact that she's trapped in a horrific mansion that she's just making all these jokes about it. Like, she's definitely taking it much better than I would if I was like kidnapped and put in a scary mansion. Mm-hmm. But at some points it gets a little cheesy, but I don't know, maybe that's fine. It's not quite like Marvel movie, or what was that game where she's talking to a cuff? Forspoken, where she's just like, oh, trapped in a murder house. I guess this is what I do now, just constantly. But at some points I was just thinking, well, it seems like a pretty dire situation you're in. Maybe you should be doing maybe fewer wisecracks and trying to be more supportive of everybody who's also in the situation. I don't know. That's just my take on it.
Sure. It doesn't seem like the right sort of level of concern for your situation.
Yeah.
Nice. It sounds really cool. It looks cool. I'm looking at screenshots now. It definitely has a vibe.
Yeah, it looks great. I kind of acclimated to the fact that it just looks like a PS1 game pretty quickly, but there are definitely points where I just stop and look around and be like, well, did a really good job making this look like an old game. It's a very cool sort of experience. It's like, even down to the font that they use for all the dialogue, and like when you go to your inventory, it just looks like that weird, I don't know if it's the same font or whatever, but just that strange sort of Silent Hill survival horror style, like chunky pixel font, which I thought is hysterical. I was like, I didn't realize there was a survival horror font, but they really like nailed the whole, like the impression of it.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah. So that's the Tartarus Key. It's out. I play this on Switch. I think it's out on Steam as well. Man, I wonder how it looks on Steam. On Switch, there are all these like graphical options that start off enabled that I think really like punch up the sort of PlayStation 1 experience. Like, you got the polygon jitter, and like nothing is anti-aliased, and it uses the big chunky font. But then you can just turn all of them off, which I think, would make it look a little more modern. But I think that would just look weird. It would be like playing a super old game on very modern hardware. Just like the art wouldn't look quite right.
And you find that stuff is not so annoying as to be sort of distracting.
Oh, not at all. I mean, I don't have an issue with it because I just sort of like that aesthetic. I could imagine some people being like, well, why are all the graphics moving around, or why are the textures kind of weird? I have to admit, so there were some cutscenes where it like zooms really close in on their faces. And I don't know why this happens, but just like their faces sort of morph around in weird ways that doesn't feel authentic to the PlayStation 1. I think it's probably just, a side effect of whatever the technique they were using to recreate the effect. It like worked better at a distance for some reason.
Oh, interesting.
So that was a little weird, but it didn't really take away from my enjoyment of it at all.
Well, cool. This looks really neat.
Yeah, it was really good. I was expecting it to be maybe a little more survival horror. I mean, not like scary, but moving a character around in third person or something. and not quite just going from room to room and, solve the puzzle in this room, then move on to the next room, taking clues from one side of the house to the other because you pick up an inventory item that you realize would be helpful. But it's actually very, smartly compartmentalized, where you just go into one room and there's, 2 or 3 puzzles, maybe just 1 or 2 puzzles in that room. And all of the items you need to solve it are in that room. At least I think that's the case. I think that's, true for at least 90% of the rooms in the game. But because of that, there's no extensive backtracking or anything. Pretty much all the puzzles are self-contained, which was kind of nice.
No.
Because you're
so you're
never
not carrying
just
around some object from 3 hours ago that you're looking for a place to use.
Yeah, you end up questioning or second guessing yourself a lot less, because you'll be like, oh, I don't feel like I have all the clues to solve this puzzle. Did I miss something somewhere else? Or no, it's probably in this room. And most of the time it turns out that, yeah, you just missed something in the same room that you're in that you need to solve the puzzle. So I thought that was very smart, very considerate.
Cool. The game I played earlier this year, Lost in Play, did the same thing. It was an adventure game, and it had a lot of your ability to progress hinged on you sort of finding and properly sort of applying something in your immediate environment. And maybe it was 3 screens that you had to sort of scan across, pan across. But it certainly wasn't anything that, you were carrying around since the beginning of the game that suddenly has value at the end.
Yeah.
So I like that it sort of everything had utility. You weren't sort of left wondering, well, why do I have leftover parts? Where do these go? So yeah, it was good. I think that's a smart quality of life improvement.
Yeah. I think it actually when you leave the room, it kind of clears your inventory. So you no longer even have those items until you go back to that room. So that takes a lot of the guesswork out of it.
That's cool.
There was only one situation where I think there was there was a diagram in one room that suggested that you would have to go to another room in the mansion, but that was the closest thing that I can think of to the old Resident Evil style, oh, you found the blue gem. If only there was a blue alcove or something to put this thing in somewhere else in the police station. Go find it. Oh, that is a nightmare every single time.
Yeah. The rubber ball from Silent Hill.
The rubber ball, yeah, everybody's favorite.
What the hell do I do with this?
Yeah, just things that you would typically do with a rubber ball, obviously.
Right.
Oh, man. Nothing like that in this game, thankfully.
Lovely.
Overall, just a very streamlined experience that lets you, just concentrate on the puzzles, which are generally very satisfying to get through.
Nice. I'll have to check this out.
Yeah, real good. I want more PlayStation 1 games. It was exciting. I mean, it's nice being able to play something that looks like this and not have to deal with all the weird, actual hardware issues that the PlayStation 1 have. There weren't, there wasn't extensive loading time or anything, or there weren't weird, I don't know, 3D glitches or whatever else happened on that system. So it's nice to be able to just freely use this aesthetic for things.
Cool. That sounds awesome. Yeah, I don't necessarily sort of look fondly back on the PlayStation 1 aesthetic. But as I look at screenshots for this, I'm like, oh, I definitely, you can sort of see they're going for something here. And I think it sort of steers the game kind of into its genre really well. I think, so a lot of the screenshots I'm looking at in the Nintendo eShop are kind of dark, a little, characters talking to each other with, kind of blocky faces and kind of overused textures and stuff like that. I'm like, but no, it works. I can see what they're going for here.
It's definitely, they have the advantage of doing this on modern hardware, so that it's not I don't think it's, 100% authentic, this would run on the PlayStation 1, or maybe it would, right. I don't know. But they're just using that aesthetic as sort of a symbol or a signifier or whatever, that this is, you're playing a 32-bit survival horror style game. So I think it works out very well.
Very cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. Is it finally time to talk about Crayon Shinchan?
Sure. I didn't mean to sort of build such anticipation, but
well, I've been looking forward to it, so it's all on me.
So yeah, this game is called Shin-chan, Me and the Professor on Summer Vacation, the endless 7-day journey. So it has multiple subtitles.
It's a lot going on.
It's a lot, yeah. So as mentioned earlier, it's a bit of a slice of life game. You are a 5-year-old on vacation with your family. It takes place in the mid 70s, I think 1975. I think they established at one point.
Oh,
It's definitely sort of like a different era. It's a different place because it's in Japan. You're in a mountain village. It's pretty isolated, so there's not a lot of houses, not a lot of businesses. As a 5-year-old, you have a surprising amount of freedom to run around the town and do stuff.
he's only 5 years old.
That's
not old.
He says it. No, it's not old at all. No, he says at one point that he's 5. As he's lusting after an 18-year-old, which is a little weird.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, slightly problematic. Yeah. So this little character, Crayon Shin-chan, I believe his name is Shinosuke, but the familiar is Shin-chan is the nickname, I guess.
Got it.
He's sort of a precocious, slightly bratty, hyperactive kid who kind of gets under everybody's feet. There's a weird like a relationship pattern he has where like somebody will say something to him, he'll repeat it back to them incorrectly, and then that person will get angry. And then but that's like 90% of his interaction with other people. And I'm like, okay, I get it. I understand the joke. It's kind of funny. But it like after the 90th time, it doesn't really sort of like, work for me anymore.
Is he doing it on purpose, or is he like just not understanding them?
I'm not sure. Yeah. The game doesn't sort of ever let you, at least as far as I've played it, doesn't kind of let you in on him like being an instigator in that way. I think that's pretty sophisticated for a 5-year-old.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But it is a weird, like, I don't know, trait of Shin-chan's interaction with other humans, with mostly adults, that as a player becomes slightly annoying over time.
I was wondering if maybe that's like the premise for the entire show or like manga series or whatever, where it's like, oh yeah, he just understands things wrong and hijinks ensue.
I don't know. So here's the thing: is I don't know anything about Shin-chan. I know at one point there was an anime on Amazon. It was on Adult Swim at some point, not within my lifetime. And I see the characters and I'm like, oh, I know what this is. I've seen this in the world before. But as I was sort of researching briefly the wiki for the show, apparently the TV show has over 1,000 episodes. And the manga has run for like 30 something years. And I'm like, okay, well, this is way more than I know about this character, obviously. So I suspect some of these little like personality quirks and stuff are from the game, or I'm sorry, from the anime and from the manga. And that if you're like a fan of that, let's just be like, oh, here's Shin-chan sort of pretending he doesn't understand people again. Or there's a lot of fart jokes.
Okay.
Like a lot of fart jokes. And I assume that that's sort of a hallmark of the cartoon, and that people who love Shin-chan are like, oh, there he is misunderstanding people and making fart jokes.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a curve. It definitely sort of feels like, okay, I've walked into something sort of midstream here, and I'm trying to get caught up.
Yeah.
I don't know that I necessarily need to have seen 1,000 episodes of the anime to sort of have an appreciation for it. It feels pretty self-contained. You get sort of the setup at the begining. Dad is a businessman. Mom's a stay-at-home mom. You have a tiny little baby brother. You have a cute little dog. Who I like, and any interaction with him is always super fun. And hey, we're going on vacation. We're going to stay in the mountain village with one of Mom's old friends. Dad has to work while he's there because he's a businessman. That's what businessmen do. And he'll be gone quite a bit. And you quickly have free reign of this little mountainous village, and all of the little landmarks there. And you get to meet sort of the people who run the shops and the guy who runs the cafe. And Mom's childhood friend's husband runs a little local newspaper, and he gives you little assignments with your camera to take pictures of things in the village. And he'll put together little stories and stuff like that based on what you photograph. And you're done from there. You just go and catch bugs and go fishing sometimes and solve little mysteries and do errands for people.
Just find things to fill the hours.
Yeah, people will give you pocket money if you run errands for them. So the woman that runs the little restaurant needs fresh ingredients, and if you find shiso leaves or turnips or things like that, she'll give you a couple of coins for helping her out. And then you'll find there are other places in the village that you can earn a couple little yen here or there for helping people basically run kind of little errands. I don't know what you do with the money yet.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, what does a 5-year-old do with the money? It's just like buying.
I'm not sure what I'm saving up for. You even get a little punch card if you help the woman who runs the little convenience store. If you help her 6 times, you get 100 yen. And I'm like, what does a 5-year-old do with 100 yen? That sounds like a lot of money. I don't know the conversion rate in the 70s. It's
like $1.
Maybe. Okay, well, there you go. So I'm not sure what he's spending it on. I'm not sure if there's, costume changes or anything like that in the game, but Shinchan
is going to get his climbing outfit.
Sure.
Defeat Ganon.
You got to upgrade your armor. And that's it. It's lather, rinse, repeat from there. There is a sort of a subplot with a very eccentric, potentially sort of evil scientist who is getting you to run errands for him and is maybe doing something that sort of manipulates time in a sci-fi kind of way.
So the professor?
That is the sort of the mysterious professor, the Mian professor on the summer vacation.
Oh.
That is the professor from the title.
That sounds like the title makes the relationship sound so much more wholesome.
Yes. And he's not like, he's sort of a 1970s cartoon villain. He's sort of, pick one who's Skeletor. He's basically sort of like conniving and bumbling at the same time.
I was thinking he'd be more like Doc Brown, who's just like, oh yeah, my weird professor friend.
Sure, I could see that. That would be an easy way to sort of Rick and Morty, right? I mean, that's
sure.
Rick and Morty is sort of infamously inspired by Doc Brown and Marty. He's doing stuff. He's monkeying around with things. And the 5-year-old is the only one who can maybe solve the mystery. It's fun. It's light. It's very light. And your mileage may vary on whether or not you find his sense of humor and kind of the eccentric interactions he has with people charming. Certainly the visuals are super charming. It's all sort of hand painted, kind of almost kind of watercolor looking kind of backgrounds. The village is gorgeous. Lots of little beautiful kind of nooks and crannies to the town for you to sort of find and kind of hang out. It's a beautiful summer day with kind of bugs flying around and the sun is shining and people out kind of doing their shopping and saying hello and being friendly. And they'll tell you little stories. There's some little time-based things too, that if you show up at a certain place at a certain time, somebody will read you a storybook and stuff like that. And it's cute. It's charming. It's fun. And it has this sort of light kind of thread running through it of kind of the professor's mysterious experiment and you kind of running errands for him and collecting bugs over the summer and getting to know the people in the village. And it feels very ephemeral. It feels like just a light thing, just a little snack, a little video gamey snack.
That sounds like, how I expect these to play out based on what I've heard of them and based on Attack of the Friday Monsters. Does it culminate with Shin-chan has to stop the professor from wrecking the town or something like that?
I'm not there yet. To be determined. I have not finished. This is a surprisingly long game. I put a lot of time in it over the weekend, and I'm not done. How Long to Beat says it's about 10 hours, and I'm like, holy cow! Me and the professor are on vacation for a long time, and I'm certainly not at the 10-hour mark yet. So TBD. I'm not sure what's going on there with the professor or what my responsibility is, but. It's certainly a much bigger, grander kind of undertaking than Attack of the Friday Monsters was, which, if I remember correctly, was only just a couple of hours long.
Yeah, it was like a little kind of thing.
It was a short, yeah.
Yeah.
Shinchan is not. This is a much bigger experience. Although it does sort of have like I said, kind of a small, like I said, it's just this little town with only a couple buildings and residents. So it feels It feels fairly compact, but there's a lot to do. There's a lot of like I said, kind of running errands, and you have a you have a bug net, and like there's not really even any tactic to like catching the bugs. It's not like Animal Crossing where you have to like sneak up on them and be quiet and like swing the net at exactly the right time. I whiff most of the shots I take with the net, and I catch the bug every time. And you barely even see them. They're just like little sparkly bits. And the game is real clever about if they sparkle, it means you haven't caught one of them yet. And I'm like, that is a nice quality of life thing video games should do. So yeah, I just kind of swing my net in the general direction of the sparkle, and most of the time I catch the bug.
Then what do you do with the bugs?
You have a scrapbook. You take a picture of the bug with the little camera that the potentially evil scientist gave you, and it turns it into a little drawing that goes in a scrapbook.
Huh. Well, that's fun.
Yeah. So if you're a collect-a-thon kind of gamer and you're trying to like, catch all the bugs and stuff like that in the city, or catch all the fish, there is certainly a scrapbook for you to fill out and collect all the little critters and stuff. But mostly it's about kind of solving this little mini mystery, meeting all the little eccentric characters in the town, and just kind of like hanging out and doing summertime things.
That sounds good.
Yeah. It's cute. It's charming. There are bits of it that are like, oh, that's a little weird. That joke again. That's a little grating. But it definitely makes up for that with like a fun little host of characters with just really seriously beautiful artwork.
Yeah, it looks really great.
Yeah, and just kind of being able to explore the town. And, I've played the game maybe 5 hours, 6 hours, and just discovered that there's a little staircase behind a building that I've been to 15 times. And I'm like, where does the staircase go? Has this always been here? And it takes you to a little place I had not explored before. And so there's little places around the town that you can kind of find and, explore and hang out and stuff. And it's just, it's cute. It's, I don't know if it's for everybody. I'm not entirely certain it's for me even. But it is charming. And it does seem to sort of have been made with some love. It is not a game, obviously, about sort of like, solving mysteries or getting out of this haunted mansion or anything like that. It is, it is kind of what it says on the tin. It's you kind of hanging out on summer vacation, just kind of doing vacation things.
Yeah. I like that they can make a game that is that sort of like, let's say low pressure, or like there's not just like some objective hanging over you the entire time. Really curious about this whole series. I'm like kind of wondering if I should check this out because, I'm glad to get a version of it over here. But I know that there's some translation group working on like a fan English patch for one of the previous games in the series. I think it was, I forget if it's PlayStation 1 or 2, but I would love to start with one of those.
Cool.
This does seem like it's like sort of that experience, but also just has like this weird Crayon Shinchan factor, which I'm not totally sure what to make of.
Sure.
So I don't know when that's coming out though, or that's like if I should even be expecting it soon, if I should just go to this directly.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand the connection to the other games until you kind of spelled it out. So it would be cool if some more of these kind of came stateside, because it's kind of an intriguing concept. It'd be neat if, like, every summer there was a cool summer vacation game with a rotating cast of characters or something. That's I think that has the potential to be kind of engaging and charming and something to look forward to. And I liked the Attack of the Friday Monsters because it felt very focused and it felt almost kind of autobiographical. It definitely had a perspective and a story it was trying to tell, and there wasn't a lot of like piffle to it. Me and the Professor on summer vacation feels way less focused. It does feel, a lot of like lazy summer days. It doesn't quite feel autobiographical. I admired and appreciated that Attack of the Friday Monsters had a little more focus and was sort of trying to tell a very deliberate story. I sort of wish Shin-chan maybe had a little more of that.
Interesting. It reminds me a lot of what was that game called? Rainy Season. It's out on itch and Steam, but it's I believe it was at least partially inspired by the series. You just spend an afternoon at I think your grandma's house in Japan, and you're just kind of like occupying yourself until dinner time. But very similar in that it's just, you don't have a set task list of things to do. You're just kind of like, oh, what's going on in this house? What can I sort of get up to while I'm just passing the time?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
I've never heard of this.
I really enjoyed that one.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. So this is a friendly reminder. This is called Shin-chan, Me and the Professor on Summer Vacation. I'm playing it on the Switch. It's available to download from the eShop. I'm not sure if you can get the limited run version of it anymore, but it doesn't hurt to look if that's important to you. This is also out on Steam, I believe.
Oh, cool.
If you want to play it that way. So yeah, it's cool. It's worth checking out. It definitely feels like a very unique gaming thing. Certainly if you have a history with Shinchan, with Crayon Shinchan, then that might be even more appealing a reason to sort of play this game. But it's definitely, sort of slows down the gaming experience quite a bit. It is not a thing where it doesn't feel like a lot of video games. The setting alone, being in a Japanese mountain town in the 70s, is super unique and really, really kind of endearing and makes it more fun to explore. And I'm just very curious about, being in other places and doing a little bit of like video game tourism.
Yeah, I like that aspect of it.
It definitely works in that way. Yeah. So, that said, we should probably wrap this thing up, huh?
Yeah, I have to get back to Final Fantasy before somebody reveals the ending to me, so I'm going to do that.
Excellent. If you need any more video game hangover in your brain, you should follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/VGHangover. And you can always get show notes and links and tell us what you thought about this episode at VGHangover.com. You should join us on Discord. You can hang out with us and chat about video games and other stuff. You can get a link to that at VGHangover.com. And it would be great, really, if you could subscribe, rate, and review us on your podcasting app of choice. Help us out by maybe telling your friends about the show, too.
Yeah. Let them know that they should hit that like and subscribe button. Sorry, I've been watching too many YouTube shows lately. It's just stuck in my head. But no, it really helps us out if you just spread the word about the show by telling your friends. It really is one of the best ways that we bring in new listeners. So that'd be really great.
Yeah.
We want to give thanks again to Fear of Dark for our intro and outro music this week. You can go to fearofdark.bandcamp.com, check out more of his stuff. Maybe buy an album or two while you're there.
Nice. We'll be back next week. Until then, this is Randy Dickinson.
This is DJ Ross.
Thanks for listening to Video Game Hangover. Bye.
Good night.
See ya.